Hi everyone, Irina Bakley here, a licensed relationship therapist from Irina Bakley Counseling LLC.com. And today we are talking about what to expect during your first couples therapy session. So last 2 weeks, we've talked about what to expect during your first initial consultation call with a therapist, which is in essence a conversation that helps both therapist and a client to really gain understanding whether it's going to be a good fit between both of them. And we also covered what to expect during your first individual therapy session with a therapist, which is not entirely different from couples therapy, but it is different because their dynamic is different now. So in couples work, there are three people in the room, right? Or when I do virtual sessions, it's three people, talking together. And so their interpersonal and the communication dynamic is different. But it's also different because unlike the individual therapy where the client is my client, in a couples therapy, their relationship is my client. So this means that I am a neutral person and my job is to not take sides, to not say who is right and who is wrong, and to fix that, but instead to advocate on behalf of the relationship. Okay, and so during their first few minutes of the couples therapy, first couples therapy session, we, just like during the individual session, cover the basics. So we talk about some housekeeping stuff like their paperwork and their informed consent and the cancellation policies and their confidentiality limits and things like that. We also talk about no secrets policy, which means that I do not keep secrets when I do couples therapy. So if you tell me something during an individual therapy session, which we'll talk about structure of the couples work in a little bit. If you tell me something about the relationship or about you or something you did during the individual session with me, I will, or you will bring it up, or I will have you and help you bring it up. So unless you want this material to be discussed in a couples therapy format, I encourage you to not bring it up at all when we talk. And again, I do this because my job is to ensure safety between all of us. And so it can be productive work, and we don't have to worry about, who said what and what I'm supposed to say and what I'm not supposed to say. Also, in terms of the structure of couples therapy, it's different because I'm trained in EFT, right? Emotional focused couples therapy. And so during the first session, all of us meet together. So it's therapist and a couple meeting together and discussing what's going on, maybe talking a little bit about the cycle, talking a little bit about the needs, the goals, what are we trying to achieve there, right? And then the second and then the third session are individual sessions. So session 2 maybe with partner A, and then session 3 maybe with partner B. However, sometimes, not always, but sometimes I request for more than one individual session. It happens when I am unclear about certain things, or there is a kind of extensive history that needs to be explored further. So it doesn't happen very often, but it does happen when we do 2 or 3 or 4 individual sessions before we all regroup together. But if we don't, then typically so the first one is together. Session number 2 and 3 are separate, and then the fourth session is when we come back together and then we come up with a plan with the goals and kind of talk about some of the things that were brought up during individual sessions. We will probably going to be talking a little bit about the attachment theory during this session, and figuring out your attachment style, which basically means your coping strategies. So how do you cope when your heart is uncomfortable? How do you cope when you feel hurt, right? Some of us up the ante. So we start yelling and screaming, and we pursue more, and kind of we become bigger. And some people withdraw. We call them withdrawers. It's a term from literature. And they shut down because they want to protect the relationship against their emotional turmoil. So which one are you? Is it different? Is it different? Depends on different situation, or is it most often the same kind of coping style that you're using? So we're talking about that. We're talking about the cycle, right? So what is it that you do when you feel uncomfortable? What is it that your partner does when he or she feels uncomfortable? How does it look on the outside here, and what do you feel on the inside? And then, so the infinity loop, we call it in EFT, kind of helps us understand what are some of the behaviors that are happening, what are some of the emotions that are happening, and how we are impacting each other, right, in a partnership, in a relationship. I will probably ask you questions like, when you get scared, what do you do? Who was there for you when you were younger? How do you repair after an argument? For example, when you have a fight with your partner, how do you talk? Do you talk about it? Do you just kind of brush it off? Do you rather not talk because you don't want to rock the boat? So what happens in your relationship? I would ask, how were emotions expressed in your family when you were growing up? Was it something that was talked about, or was it a taboo, for example? So we're doing this because we understand from 30 years of research that has been done on love and attachment and relationships that the conflict is just the inflammation, right? The fight, the conflict is just the inflammation, and the virus is the emotional disconnection. So we know that our job is to help you guys as a couple to really hear each other and be accessible and to each other's emotional needs, in order for your emotions, for your nervous system to feel secure, to feel safe, to feel like your partner is there for you. So there is a model that we use, which is awesome, again based on many years of research, that really works. And it can take on average between 15 and 20 sessions, I would say, if there is no trauma, so history of trauma in partners' lives. More trauma you have, which relationship trauma, which we talked about in another video, or other type of trauma, more trauma you have, more kind of difficult things happen to you, more time is gonna take us to heal that. But once we heal that in a couple content, not in individual content, and your partner who you love, who you care about, can share this with you, or you can share this with your partner, you will feel safe in the world, and you will feel different in the world, and it will help strengthen your relationship. And if we don't touch this pain, it blocks our connection. It does. Okay, so I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to cover. Next time we're going to be talking about what to expect during your first virtual session. So stay tuned to that. But for now, thanks for watching, and see you soon. Bye bye.